Live from Calgary, Alberta, the Brier. Today, the semi-final playoff to determine Canada's curling champions. English First Division Soccer, the #1 team, Liverpool, meets Everton before a capacity crowd of 53,000 people at Goodison Park in Liverpool. And part 10 of the 1980 Canadian Superstars, who are back for the second half of the gym test. Today on Sports Weekend. This portion of Sports Weekend, the Canadian Curling Championship, is brought to you by Labatt's Breweries of Canada Limited, brewers of Labatt's 50 Ale and Labatt's Blue. Welcome to Sports Weekend. I'm Ernie Afghanis in Toronto. Over the next 2 hours or so, we'll have live coverage from Calgary, Alberta of the semi-final playoff game in Canada's premier curling event, the Labatt Brier. And that'll be followed by the NHL report, soccer highlights, and more of the 1980 Canadian Superstars. First, though, in other sports news, Canada's two best downhill skiers, Ken Reid of Calgary and Steve Podborski of Toronto, finished 1-2 in the Canadian Senior Downhill Championship in Lake Louise, Alberta. And we'll have that race for you next Saturday on Sports Weekend. In the women's downhill, Laurie Graham of Inglewood, Ontario, won the race, finishing ahead of last year's winner, Kathy Kreiner of Timmins, Ontario. In golf, the lone Canadian to make the cut, Dan Halderson of Shiloh, Manitoba, is 9 shots off the lead in the third round of the Jackie Gleason Inverary Golf Classic in Lauderhill, Florida. And in basketball, the University of Victoria Vikets are playing the Dalhousie Tigers in Halifax this afternoon for the Inter-University Women's Basketball Championship. And in tennis, Argentina has a surprising lead over the United States in their Davis Cup playoffs. By winning today's doubles match, Argentina could block the U.S. from winning a third straight Davis Cup. We'll pass on the results of these matches and others as we receive them. Right now, though, let's go to Don Whitman in Calgary for a report on today's semifinal match in the 1980 Labatt Brier.
Live from the Corral in Calgary, this is the semifinal game in the Labatt Brier, featuring Al Hackner of Northern Ontario and Paul Gowsell of Alberta. Throughout most of the week, people were referring to this 1980 Canadian Men's Curling Championship as the Paul Gowsell Brier, and indeed it was. He was the dominant figure through the first 4 days, both on and off the ice. But yesterday, Gowsell suffered a pair of setbacks, back-to-back losses to Peter Hope of Nova Scotia and former Canadian champion Jimmy Ercel of Quebec. That enabled Rick Folk with a 9-2 record to finish in first place in round-robin play and gain the all-important bye into tomorrow's final. The semifinal matchup featuring Hackner and Gowsell with identical records of 8-3. Gowsell actually relegated to third place as the result of a 10-5 loss to Hackner when they first met on Monday night in round-robin play. So it's the semifinal match, Hackner of Northern Ontario, Gowsell of Calgary. And to describe the action for you, Don Chevrier and Don Duguid are standing by. Play in this game in the third end. Alberta leading by a score of 1-0. And we'll be back with live coverage of this game after we return to our Sports Weekend studios and Ernie Afghanis.
All right, Don, and we're looking forward to that semifinal today, so let's get right to it. But first, this message.
Since 50 years of making memories.
Most camera stores carry the same cameras at pretty much the same prices. But one store has a camera guarantee that covers 3 years parts and labor and 1 year accidental damage at no extra charge. one store, Black's. Now, where are you going to buy your camera?
Black's is photography.
You can be a president of a company and still sweep the floor.
Hi, I'm Tia Leek for Sunoco, here at a customer's farm with distributor Peter Thus. What's the best part of your job? I mean, what makes your job interesting?
It's the people. I service people, look after them, make them feel good. Like Sun Oil Company themselves, they make me feel that way, so I just pass it on, and it really satisfies me. It gives me a good feeling to help somebody out.
Who was your first customer?
It was my brother-in-law.
People like Peter Thus make Sunoco a little more personal.
Kathy Van Ness got so excited about Dry Idea Roll-On, we could barely get a word in edgewise.
It lasts all day, it's fresh, it's fast, it's quick, boom, you got it on. You don't have to worry about it.
Dry Idea Roll-On has almost no water, so it feels dry when it goes on. But that's not all.
There wasn't one time that I questioned whether if I had to go out tonight after work at 10 o'clock at night, would I still feel as good as I did at 8 o'clock? It was still right there. Dry Idea sticks with you all day. It really works. I can't believe it. It really does work.
19 years ago, Heck Gervais of Edmonton won the Brier when the event was last held in this building. Paul Gowsell, Al Hackner, and Rick Folk still in contention for this 1980 title. The semifinal match underway. Hackner and Gowsell play in the third end, and to describe it for you, Don Chevrier and Don Duguid.
Thank you, Don. Well, this game has really been uneventful for two ends, but now Don Duguid in the third end with last rock in his possession. Alan Hackner from Northern Ontario may be developing something.
Well, he gambled early, and he's lying, I think, 1 and 2 at the back of the house. They're just having a look at it now to see whether Northern Ontario is lying 2 or whether that Gowsell rock at the top of the 12-foot is second shot.
The red stones are Northern Ontario's. The yellow stone at the top that Neil Houston, the third for Gowsell's team, is going to have a look at now. And they want to be sure as to which is second shot before they consider what they're going to play with Gowsell's last stone. Remember that Northern Ontario still has the final rock at this third end. Alberta got one with the toss in the first end. Gowsell trying to blank stuck. And Northern Ontario's Alan Hackner succeeded in blanking the second end, so it's 1-0 Alberta right now.
Well, the big thing here for Paul Gowsell, if in fact he is second shot, he'll just play a come around and maybe tap that one that is shot rock back to lie 2. But if in fact Northern Ontario is lying 2, he might play the double.
Talking about a possible freeze maybe down here now, or Houston is. Gowsell, as you saw, had headed down the ice and is reconsidered now. And there's the ice that is indicated by Houston if he wants to just freeze in there and maybe make sure that Northern Ontario gets no more than one. But Gowsell's certainly in trouble here to a certain extent. Northern Ontario beat this Alberta team 10-5 the first time they played, and they got 3 on the third end. Well, here we are in the third end right now, and Gowsell's hoping history does not repeat itself as he finally heads back to execute his shot.
Well, anytime you play a draw in the first 2 or 3 ends, it's a very sticky situation because you have to be very sure of your weight. And Houston, you see, is still looking at it, so there might be some question of a doubt as to who is second shot.
Well, from the angle we have, I would suggest that it is 1-2 for Northern Ontario, that the Alberta rock is third shot, yet the angles could be deceiving.
It's a very critical shot for Paul Gowsell. He'd like to get right down in front. If he gets down in front of it and freezes to it, he's going to hold Ontario to 1 and maybe, in fact, steal one here. So it's a very critical shot, but the rock will take a long time in coming over. He's got lots of weight. They haven't laid a brush to it yet. Now it's starting to go on him.
Really coming over on him now as that rock begins to dig in a little bit, but he's going to get by the front stone. Coming well back. He's got a good-looking shot, Paul Gowsell. He bumps it back and sits there for shot.
Well, Don, he moved that rock about a foot, but now it allows maybe Hackner the opportunity to hit the one that Paul just threw on the inside and roll over to this other one and maybe stay for 2. And now you see Rick Lange and Hackner looking at it, so...
They want to be sure as to which is second or third shot now. It's third shot that is in question, but as you say, there is space left. You can see it at the back of the house between the yellow that Gowsell just put down and the Northern Ontario rock that was bumped back. So getting it on the inside, that's a little tricky. He could squeeze it out and conceivably get 3, depending on which one is third shot right now.
Well, you have to really decide on what shot you're going to play. Are you just going to play the quiet tap back? He has to hit it on the inside.
Here's Don Whitman.
I just spoke with Kelly Stern, the lead for the Alberta rank, and he indicated that Alberta was 1 and 3.
The third shot is Alberta's. All right. Here is Alan Hackner now with his third. Rick Lange, who played for Bill Tetley, won the Canadian Curling Championship. Went on to a silver broom where they lost out in Perth, Scotland.
Of course, Hackner cannot afford to hit this Gowsell rock on the outside. If he does, and his shooter rolls too far, he could leave Alberta with a score of 2 here. He has to make sure that he plays the shot rock, hopefully to hit it on the inside. Very delicate shot here. Wade is the key, and he's got lots of it. Now they're watching it.
To get this
Now it's starting to come over.
He can't.
Oh, it's really pulling over. He may be on the front one. He is on the front one.
Where is he going to roll when he makes contact? Well, he's going to roll across the 8 foot. And he's going to stay for shot. He gets one. So it's now irrelevant as to who was third shot. Alberta thought they had it. A chance for more than one, but rucking out in front allows Hackner to score just 1 point and tie this game at 1 after 3 complete ends in Calgary. We'll be right back.
In 1958, Allstate realized that home insurance was too important to play around with. So Allstate helped to pioneer home insurance with on-the-spot claims payout by an Allstate representative, often within hours. Allstate has been working to take the red tape out of insurance in Canada for more than 20 years, and we'll never stop. And that's a promise from the good hands people.
That's the feeling for a car that's been the #1 seller in the world, the Toyota Corolla. And here comes the 1980 Toyota Corolla 1.8. New slipstream styling, more room inside, a peppier 1.8-liter engine. With a world of beautiful new models to choose from, the Corolla is sure to be one of Canada's best sellers, too.
All right, lights, camera, action.
Oh, cool.
Not now. Watch the slides.
Oh, cool.
See, there I am, tripping along in my Cougar Formula joggers.
Nice ankles.
Nice shoes. They have non-marking anti-slip soles and a new lighter design that makes you very fast on your feet. Not now.
Cougar Formula joggers in styles and sizes so the entire family can stay ahead of the pack.
That voice. I keep hearing that voice.
Now?
No, not now. No, don't do that. Oh, what are you doing?
We have a tie in the Labatt Brier semifinal in Calgary right now, Northern Ontario, and Alberta tied at 1-1 after 3. Remember, the winner of today's match will go to the final against Saskatchewan. That will be carried here on Sports Weekend tomorrow afternoon. Check your listings on that. We'll keep you posted on what's happening there. Let's get back to Calgary and the Labatt Brier.
All right, here is the 4th end underway, and Bruce Kennedy, the lead for Northern Ontario, is trying to get around a front stone of Alberta's. And it's not really curling very well for him. It's going to be exposed, not very deep. It's from the 8-foot circle, but as you can see, it's wide open to the Alberta team as Kelly Stern gets set to shoot for Paul Gowsell's quartet.
Well, it appears to me that Alan Hackner is going to play the same type of game as he played Paul the very first time. He's going to go around guards. They play nice, quiet weight. He's going to put the pressure on Gowsell as Gowsell is going to put the pressure on him. Kelly Stern's a long way out with this one. I don't think he'll get the hit and roll. Now it's starting to work.
Right at the end there, it really came over for him. And he'll have a chance of staying over on the right-hand side, and he's going to remain on the 12-foot ring. Alberta with 1 on the 12-foot and 1 out in front just off the center line here in the 4th end. The score tied at 1.
That's a good shot for Gowsell. Now if Nickel rolls out with this one, he'll go behind the guard with...
Bob Nickel, who curled 73% throughout the round robin, is 10% better than that early in this game today at 83%. He's made some shots. He's being asked to play the takeout.
Dice is running very straight here, has a tendency to curl just at the end from the hog line in. Boy, this might be a miss.
I think so. It is a miss. Did not come over for him. The final few feet as they suspected it might. So with last rocks, Paul Gowsell now has got a chance to build something here in this 4th end.
You see, Paul down. That rock is just a foot off the center line, and he's going to come with the in-turn around there as opposed to the out-turn. The out-turn having a tendency to stay very straight and not curl too much, so Paul's going to try it with the in-turn.
This is Glenn Jackson, his second. He curled 77% throughout the round-robin competition. Now he's curling at 67% in this game.
He's got lots of weight here. It looks like he's well by the guard. Now it's starting to dig in a bit.
Oh, nice weight right there at the tee line. It's tempting. It is available, probably most of the rock from the in-turn side, left of that guard. But Gowsell right now is lying 2 with the 1 out in front for partial cover. It's Bobby Nickel, the second for Northern Ontario. The Fort William Curling Club they are, gets set to deliver. This team, 18 wins, 1 loss from the club playdowns all the way to the Labatt Provincial Tankard Championship. In those provincial finals, they were unbeaten in Northern Ontario. 8 wins, 3 losses here, the same as the Gowsell team. A key shot in this 4th end for Northern Ontario from Bob Nickel.
Bobby Nickel once again has got a little bit more weight, I think, than they've been throwing all week, and that rock is hanging out.
Coming now a bit for him, right at the end. He'll make contact and enough to remove it. Alberta left with the 1 on the 12-foot ring.
Well, before that shot, I saw Hackner tap to the hack, and that meant he just wanted half weight. And it looked to me like Bob just threw a little bit more weight than Alan Hackner wanted there, and that's why the rock stayed out, and he just got a piece of it.
Now, Gowsell will endeavor to have Jackson bury it a little better this time. He now has an idea as to what it's going to do.
Well, that's right. He threw the first one. He had beautiful weight, T-line weight. Now it's just a question of maybe getting it in a little tighter around that guard. You're Paul yelling, that's good. He's got good line. You still haven't laid a brush to it, Paul.
Should start to curl right about now. It's going to be a little better, Don. It's just by the guard. Not as deep this time, though.
That is a beautiful, beautiful curling shot. I'll tell you, he's in front of the tee line. He's partially hidden. That's nice control of draw weight.
Actually, had he come back with the weight he had the first time, right back into the 4-foot, that rock would be almost completely hidden.
And that's why it was so important for Nickel to hit and stick there, to maybe force the Gowsell team to hit and roll out so they could get at that other one on the right-hand side.
Well, here is Rick Lange. Many viewers who follow curling across Canada, the Brier Silver Brooms, have seen him before with the Bill Tetley team out of Thunder Bay. Looks as though they're going to play the hit on the second shot. See what kind of a roll they get out of it. Rick Lange at 96%. Can't ask for much more than that. That's his percentage today. They need this shot here to get something going because Gowsell has it going all his way in this 4th end to score tied at 1. Not going to get the roll he wanted. It's back. He's off the ring and out of play.
Of course, Rick Lange would have liked to have gotten that roll in towards the center as opposed to the outside. Of course, force Gowsell to make a hit and stick.
Gowsell indicating now to his third, Neil Houston. Draw over here, or you saw him indicate maybe we'll try to just sit in front of our own shot rock with the in-turn. Well, no, he's going to draw a second one on.
The trouble with going in around that guard again on the one that shot rock is that if you do not get completely buried, there's a chance you could set up a double. Here, this way, if they make all their shots, they're guaranteed to. So he's going to play it fairly wide open and draw to the open side.
67%. The marks for Neil Houston at the stage. 4th end. 3rd rock's being played.
Deeper the better.
Hear Houston yelling, the deeper the better. He's going to be deep.
And well back he is, but it does hang on. They're lying 2. Right now let's check it again with Don Whitman.
With me is Tim Horrigan, the skip of the British Columbia rink, a record of 5 and 6. Not at all satisfied with that performance. You'd like to come back and certainly redeem yourself, I'm sure, Tim, but it won't be this year. However, what do you think about the semifinal game so far?
I think it's been a good game, Don. Both teams look pretty relaxed out there. Big crowd today, and I think it's going to be a real dogfight.
Well, the Paul Gowsell rink said they've never lost 3 games in a row. Do you think they'll be able to fulfill that thing this afternoon?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure, Don. I think they got their hands full with Al Hackner and his guys. They got a nice end going right now, though, and I think if they can get 3 here, it's going to put them in a real nice position. It's just going to have to, we're going to have to wait and see.
Tim Horgan, thank you very much for dropping by. Let's swing back to this action in the 4th end, Gowsell and Hackner.
Thanks, Don.
It's getting late for Northern Ontario here with the kind of end that is developing for Alberta. Remember, Paul Gowsell has last rock here in the 4th end. He's line 2 right now. A critical shot for Rick Lange.
Well, there is a chance Rick could hit and drive it on that one at the back. That rock is really starting to curl on him. He may be on the front one.
No, he's wide. He's got it. Just by the guard. And shot rock now belongs to Northern Ontario.
Well, let me tell you, he just got by that guard, Don, and still hit the rock on the outside and got a bit of a roll. So he just must have got by just by a fraction of an inch. An excellent shot by Rick Lange.
Sure was. Neil Houston. He curled 76%. In fact, the 2 most impressive teams finished in the top 3. Of course, Saskatchewan had the highest percentages overall. Then Alberta, right in there with them. Northern Ontario, the front end of the Saskatchewan team. We'll be seeing them, of course, tomorrow as Rick Folk's rink meets the winner of this game today. Just outstanding. Up in the 80s, the lead. Folk, the outstanding individual skip in terms of percentages, was 74 in the round robin. Just 1 percentage point ahead of Paul Gowsell.
Not only do they curl well, their sweeping is just amazing. Like they're tireless sweepers, end to end.
All right, here is Houston now, playing the hit on that Northern Ontario rock of Lange.
Well, he's going to get a little bit of a roll, maybe. No.
Not much. Not much. He stays right there. We're down to skip rocks. 2 each here in the 4th end. And a 1-1 tie. Well, this could augur well for Northern Ontario. If Alan Hackner can get himself a bit of an inside roll now, that rock is open. The roll is available to him.
That's what he's looking for.
80% he used today.
If he hits and stays right there, I would not be surprised if Paul Gowsell ignored it and maybe played the out-turn draw into the 4-foot around that front guard. Hackner would like to get a roll, just a little bit of a roll, to be shot rock in around that guard. The way the end has progressed so far, looks like Gowsell's going to score 2.
If they trade shots the rest of the way, this roll now for Hackner, very, very critical. Of course, he's first got to be concerned with removing this Alberta stone. So here he is, Alan Hackner, the 25-year-old skip from Northern Ontario, his first rock of N4.
So a little less weight than Neil Houston did. Now, watch that rock. It's staying right there.
Coming a little bit for him, but on the nose at second shot. And it shouldn't be of much concern to Paul Gowsell, I wouldn't think.
Well, you have a decision. You can either hit and roll behind the guard, because if he hits it on the nose, he's not going to be in the rings. He might just say, well, rather than hit that one, I'll just draw around the one in the center.
What's the trouble is he indicates that. Now, the trouble is that it's difficult to get in behind from the outside side. That is coming from the right to the left of your picture behind the guard.
Well, the danger, if you do not bury it, if it stays in the opener and then the team hits it, the opposing team hits and rolls behind the guard, you've kind of ruined a whole end. You've played it perfect for 2 points. You don't bury with your last run. The other team hits and rolls and gets out at the end. So it's a bit of a gamble if he goes in there.
Well, the first 2 ends zipped along pretty quickly with no major decisions to be made. One for Alberta and a blank for Northern Ontario. And they're taking some time with this one. They're now going back in the area of that Northern Ontario second shot. And it looks as though Gowsell and Houston have decided to play the hit and hope to roll in for second shot.
Well, that's right. Just the straight hit is not much good to Paul. He's going to have to get a little bit of a roll.
Now, the factor is that nobody has been able to get that kind of a roll. They've tried about 3 times down this side now, and they've all stayed pretty much in the same place.
Well, that's been the description all week. On the outside, the rock has a tendency, depending on weight, to maybe stay straight or fall back slightly. So it's very difficult to get an inside roll when the ice is falling away. And it all depends on his weight.
There he is, the 22-year-old flamboyant, controversial skip of this Alberta team. Playing his first rock of the 4th end in a 1-1 tie with Northern Ontario. Yells right away.
He might have turned that one in, but if he turned it in, he might get the roll. Oh, he's got a good-looking shot. It's going to roll right behind the guard.
And he lies, too. Good shot by Paul Gowsell. It doesn't really leave much for Northern Ontario except the attempt to draw in behind now after this one.
Well, I don't think they'll attempt to draw. They'll just play the open hit and concede the 2 points, or hope to hit and stick there and maybe Gowsell roll out.
He's conceding 2 by playing this hit. That's all he can do, really.
Yes.
Because of the fact it doesn't curl with the outturn, it would be a tremendous gamble to try to draw. Got to pray for a miss from Gowsell, which is not likely. If they exchange shots, it'll be a 2-ender for Paul Gowsell here in the 4th.
That was excellent control of hitting weight. He played it perfect. Now Hackner's got to be careful here that if he turns it inside, that rock may take off on him. So he's got to make sure that he throws the rock right to the broom. He jumped on it right away. Now they called him off it. It's still well out there. Now it's starting to move a bit.
He'll have it, but the roll is going to cost him. It's off, and Gowsell gets a free draw for 2. So Paul Gowsell on the verge of getting the first real edge in this game. Tied at 1 right now. This could put him up 3-1.
Well, it's amazing how one good shot can really change the complexion of the end. You know, that was just a super shot by Paul Gowsell to hit and roll, and now he's got the draw for 2. And, you know, sometimes early in a game when a team gets the jump, you know, especially playing the even ends, if he scores 2 here, he's got control of the game.
Well, that's what Northern Ontario did to him the first time they played. They got that 3 in the 3rd end, and 3 2s after that. And Gowsell did not recover. 10-5 was the final for Northern Ontario. Here he is. Anywhere in the rings will do for 2.
They haven't laid a brush to it. Looks like he has lots of weight.
Not light.
It's starting to dig in now. That's what I call saving your sweepers. Never laid a brush to it all the way down. He just stops corner of the 4-foot.
For a pair. So that big 2 gives Alberta a 3-1 lead over Northern Ontario through 4 ends of this Labatt Brier semifinal. And we'll be back right after this pause.
Cutting out, I'm moving out of here. TGIF, what a week. Cutting out for some good times. Me and my fishing gear. Wonder if Harry's got that new reel yet. Gonna spend some time my way. Really glad I'm here. Me and the boys in our 50. Me and the boys and our beer. They're gonna be fishing that lake.
Canada's great tasting ale. What a beer to share.
Me and the boys and our 50. Me and the boys and our beer.
At Mutual Life, most of us learn about being a parent the same way you do, firsthand. So we understand your hopes for tomorrow, because we share them. And when you go to buy life insurance for yourself, we know who you're really thinking of, because we know what you know.
Life is a mutual affair.
If you've joined us late, we're bringing you live coverage of the semifinal match in the Labatt Brier from Calgary. Now, still to come in about 90 minutes, English First Division soccer highlights, and that'll be very interesting, along with the 1980 Canadian Superstars. That's coming up. Now, let's go back to curling action in Calgary.
Fifth end, and Alberta has a 2-point lead at 3-1 right now. Now, Northern Ontario playing a little bit different game at this stage. Alberta left one in the back of the 4-foot. Ontario tried the freeze, didn't quite get it. Now, here's Alberta's Gowsell team with a hit to line 2. So they're both back at the tee line, and I would think that Hackner would persist in his strategy of trying to fill the house with rocks.
Well, knowing Paul Gowsell, when he gets 2 points up, he's a very difficult team to catch. So Hackner, I think, realizes this. The rocks are behind the tee line, so he's just going to play up to him, hoping maybe that the Gowsell team will drive him back onto their own and he can get the 2 points and get back in this game. But it's a dangerous type game to play because You know, all of a sudden you look up, there's 3 or 4 opposing rocks in the house, and you've got to come up with a big shot.
Bruce Kennedy's shot, he's the lead for Northern Ontario. His second stone, and it's a little bit warm. Not touching it at all, sliding down that slick center path. He's going to bump this rock back. He wanted to sit right there, but we've said before, and we'll say again many times, I'm sure, that the freeze is the most difficult shot in all of curling, the most demanding, exacting shot, and the hardest to really achieve.
Well, it's difficult because when you're playing a freeze, you have to be flush against the rock, you know, and if you half freeze it on one side or the other, it's very easy for the opposition to pick it out of there. So when you're making a freeze, you have to have the perfect weight and perfect line.
It's Glenn Jackson, Alberta's second.
Well, look at that rock. It's running very straight. As a matter of fact, falling back slightly. He's got a good corner of it.
On the right side to keep it clear of his own. The shooter rolls through the other two, and Alberta still lies 2. But they're at the back of the house. Alberta got 1 on the opening end. Now, Ontario blanked the second. That 1 was an attempt to blank by Gowsell that failed. And Northern Ontario tied it up on the third, missing a chance for a couple of points there when they rolled in off a rock out in front to get a single point to tie it. And then on the fourth end, you just seen Paul Gowsell getting in behind for a second shot with a good roll, was able to exchange shots and get a free draw for 2. He leads 3-1 right now.
And once again, Hackner is playing the free shot. He's got about 2 feet of ice anywhere in front. Gowsell shot rock just on the side of the 12-foot.
Bob Nichols' rock.
He's got lots of room.
Again, he's got lots of weight. Good freeze, I think you'll agree, has to be really swept down.
Well, he may be through the opening.
A little bit warm. This is going all the way by itself, and it's going to be off the back. Still in play, not over the back line, but off the ring.
Well, you know, one thing about playing this type of game for Hackner, you know, he has a lot of confidence in throwing that last rock. And when you play this type of game, the freeze game, when you're down 2 points, you have to be able to make your last rock. Because if it doesn't work out for you and you miss your last one, you are right out of the game.
Well, there are 3 missed opportunities we've seen so far by this Northern Ontario team in this end. And now Gowsell is asking Glenn Jackson to draw to the other side of the house using the out turn. Face things out a little bit if they can.
And he wants them preferably just on the tee line, not behind the tee line. Jackson's got lots of weight here. The rock is still well over that center line.
There's the view as the curlers see it from our handheld camera. Now the ice leveled in behind the sheet. The rock comes toward you now. Nice weight. It's not going to be too deep. It's going to stay right about the button. Nice shot by Glenn.
Well, now Hackner's got an opportunity. The one that's on the button, he has an opportunity to hit and roll over to the one on the left-hand side. That way he'll be removing an opposition rock and maybe get a little bit of a freeze off the rolls. So, but I tell you, he doesn't want to miss this one because that one is right on the button.
Here's Bob Nichol now, 27 years old. Curling for 10 years out of that Fort William Curling Club.
Well, that rock is a long way out. He's not going to get a roll to the left-hand side, maybe to the right-hand side.
Did he get the one to the back on the way out? He does. A little bonus there for Northern Ontario. And they are lying shot over on the right now with second shot Alberta on the left of the house as we're looking at it. This is the fifth and they're moving right along, approaching the halfway mark in this Brier semifinal. Remember, the winner goes on to play Rick Folk of Saskatchewan. Saskatoon in his third consecutive Brier for Saskatchewan.
They are really playing fast on. It's just under an hour, and they're playing the fifth end, so they're moving right along.
In sharp contrast to some teams we saw this week, Manitoba notably very, very slow. Taking well over 3 hours for a 10-end game, which really shouldn't be.
Neil Houston would love to hit and stick here. If he rolls out, they may freeze to the other one on the left-hand side. Now it's starting to make a move. He's going to stick.
Yep, stays right there. Gowsell once again line 2, and that's in a good spot. It's just ahead of the tee line. As Rick Lange heads back, well, curlers love hats. I discovered that a long time ago. Boy, you see a wide variety of headgear here, don't you?
Some 10-gallon, 5-gallon hats.
A little bit of everything. Sou'westers and schooner hats from Halifax, of course, they're going to host it next year. And in a while, we'll get Don Whitman to show you a dandy hat that he's found. Rick Lange now playing the straight hit on this one. Hoping for a roll across the house if they can get it.
Well, as long as he hits and sticks.
It's going to come this way. Got some backing there that might save him. No, not even that can help him as he rolls out of play, leaving Alberta line 1. Well, the guy with the hat I mentioned is Richard Bellier. He's down with Don Whitman now. Have a look at this.
Right you are, Chevy. You talked about colorful hats. This one must be a little heavy. How many pins do you have on there, Richard?
Oh, I really don't know, but it probably weighs about 25 pounds.
You haven't got your whistle stuck up there anywhere, have you?
No, the whistle's stacked away for another year.
Well, for those who might not be familiar with Richard Bellier, he blows his whistle. I'm not quite sure what the signals are. 1, to call off the sweepers. 2, for them to sweep.
More or less, yeah. That's more or less. The boys react to it quite quickly. They like it.
How did you get started using a whistle?
Well, I missed a shot to get here one time a few years back, and just needed a little roll and couldn't get the boomers off the broom, and so I went home and told my wife I was going to come up with something a little different to call it, and that's what it was, the whistle.
It certainly was different. You were certainly a colorful individual throughout the week. Let's swing back to curling action. Thank you, Richard Bellier.
Very good. We'll talk to you later.
Alberta just getting one on the rings again to lie 2 while Don was talking to Richard Bellier. Can you imagine having a 25-pound hat? You'd never be able to see a skyscraper. You'd never be able to look up.
You'd have to have a 150-pound neck to carry it.
Here in the 5th end, Alberta with 2, 1 at the top and 1 at the back on the left there behind the tee line. And it's getting late here in the 5th end as we approach the halfway mark of this Brier Semifinal.
Well, they swept that Neil Houston draw all the way down the ice, and you'll see it just on the top right-hand side of the 12-foot. There is an opportunity here for Rick Lange to hit that rock and maybe roll over in front of the other one. But to get to the face of it, he's really going to have to hit the front rock very, very thin. You can see the angle there. And it looks to me, judging by the ice that they're taking, that Hackner may be playing the out-turn draw around that one. That looks to me exactly what they're doing. Or either that they're playing oh, he's got lots of weight.
Yes, he has. This is Rick Lange's final shot of the 5th end, the 3rd man. He's a long way out, and it's got
he's got lots of weight. He's got a nice-looking line if it stops.
It's going to stay in there. It will be shot, but it's open the back of the 8th end.
Well, that's not a bad shot. It's behind the tee line. Now that if Paul Gowsell hits it on the nose, they can at least come down for and use that rock for backing.
They could then revert, yes, to their policy of freezing, which didn't work out too well early in the end, but it's still available to them now. Gowsell, of course, wants to make sure of getting this one out. He wouldn't mind rolling out altogether with it.
Well, either rolling out or rolling to the left, away from that long one that's in the top of the 12-foot. He wants to play it open. He's kind of controlling the game now. You know, and that remark I made at the top of this end, you know, you have to be able to throw that last rock when you resort to this type of game.
All right. Houston giving Gowsell just a few inches of ice to play the out-turn takeout. Playing it fairly quietly, and it's beginning to curl now a little bit.
Well, the more you come off that center line, the more it'll curl, and they're really working on it. He's going to be very close. I think he's on the front one.
A long way over, Don. Yes, he is. He is wrecked. He's going to roll back. He won't have shot out of this. A big, big break for Northern Ontario as Gowsell hangs on the backing on the left, but he has second and third shot. And first is Ontario. But it's Northern Ontario with a chance now to get something going on this end. It's funny how one shot can change it. Gowsell had this thing in control, and now is in danger of giving those 2 points right back.
Well, that was the danger, too, of going inside the center line. Once you go to that center line and the rock starts to come off it, it has a tendency to curl a little bit more as opposed to the outside of center. So you have to be aware at all times where that rock is and how that rock is reacting.
Did you think he was a little light for what he was trying to do?
I don't think so. Paul plays that type of takeout weight all the time. He never throws it very hard. He likes to let his sweepers do the work for him. He never throws real strong takeout weight.
He had to hold that kind of a line, he'd have to.
This is for weight. Hackner looks like he's got a lot of weight. He's still well out there. Can't afford to let it die on them. They got to make sure he's up to it.
Well, it's digging in now. They're going to sweep it to make sure they can get it down.
Well, he wants to get it right up to the face of it.
Comes toward this backing now. The closer he gets, the better it is for Northern Ontario. They'll let it stop just at the tee line.
That's a good shot.
They're line two.
That's a good shot because Paul Gowsell cannot play the double now because he'll just drive it onto one of the zones, so he's going to play the open hit on the second shot rock.
Gowsell's final shot, the last rock at the end, still to come from Northern Ontario's Alan Hackner.
So his gamble at the beginning of the end by Hackner has paid off. He got the one miss that he wanted, and now potentially he's got the tying points in there.
5 rocks in the house right now as Gowsell shoots his final stone of N5.
Paul wants to hit and stick on this one, because if he hits and sticks, I think he's going to be shot rock, and then Hackner would have to follow him down, but I think he's going to roll.
How about she stays there? He played a lot more weight that time, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He had to make sure of it and be firm. So looking to see which one is shot now, see whether or not Hackner has the luxury of just a draw down there to the backing, or does he have to actually move that Yellowstone? I think he does. I think it's there for shot.
I think it is shot rock. And there's a big difference between hitting for 2 as opposed to drawing for 2.
Mm-hmm. Hitting and staying. He try to play it quietly down there.
The ice is very keen, Don, and if you're playing a hit, you have to pretty well hit the rock just about on the nose to stop it from rolling off anywhere. So it's a very delicate situation.
He dearly wants those 2 points back. He may not get a better opportunity than the one he has right now.
Hackner has gone to the in-turn side, the same one as Gowsell threw. You know, that's the difficulty of you're playing the same shot as your opposing skip, but you have to keep in mind what kind of weight he threw as opposed to what kind of weight you want to throw. Yeah. So you have to establish that in your mind before you go down and throw the last rock.
So Hackner is playing to hit and stay and get his 2 points that way. Trails 3-1 right now. This is the final rock in the 5th end.
And these are the rocks that you have to make, boy. The ones where you got a chance for an extra point. You cannot afford to hit and roll out or miss altogether. Rick Lange, well, whoa, now they're starting to work on it. Looks like he's got good lines so far. Now they're starting to work on it. That's where the rock starts to cut. Rick Lange's called him off it. He's right at it. He's got it.
Quiet.
Good shot. Nice, quiet way.
4-2. And a good round of applause from this obviously partisan Alberta crowd as Hackner ties the Brier semifinal at 3-3. At the end of 5 ends, we'll return to the Stampede Corral in Calgary in just a moment.
This is the Transport Canada Fuel Consumption Guide. It gives the fuel efficiency ratings for cars sold in Canada. This is a 2.5-liter Chevy Monza Spider with automatic transmission, a small car with a sporty personality. It has a lower list price than these imports, and its fuel efficiency rating is better than any of them. So if you're on an economy drive and want to keep the fun in your driving, look at Chevy Monza as a handsome solution. At General Motors, we're committed to leadership in fuel efficiency.
Dreams come along, this is where you belong. Let the feeling surround you. Take a while and share a smile. Smile along with you.
Providing their share of the family income makes a lot of sense to a lot of women these days. And so does buying life insurance. Think about your future and talk it over with a Mutual Life of Canada agent.
Life is a mutual affair.
In Calgary, in our window there, you see our 2 commentators, Don Chevrier and Don Duguid, who have been doing an outstanding job, along with Don Whitman. And we wanted to congratulate Don Duguid because the writers have picked his rink as the rink of the 70s, the 2-time world champion. Doogie, I think you deserved it. Congratulations. Want to ask you one question. Maybe Chevy can intercede here. Do you think your rink could clean up on these youngsters today?
I don't know, Ernie. We've saw some excellent curling this week. Like you say, they're very young. They're very bold. They play the game. They attack the game. I don't know whether I'd want to go out in the ice with the young fellas that are out there now.
I think you'd have to curl a few more games than you did this year.
Yeah, about 38 more.
Yeah.
This game you have going here is a super contest, all tied up now, and it could go into extra ends the way it looks.
It sure could, Ernie. You know, with Northern Ontario's Hackner coming back to get his pair to tie it up, this prevents the runaway that we sort of had a feeling that might happen here. Gowsell got that jump, and when he does, he's awfully tough. But Paul Gowsell has been a little shaky, I might say, a little off his game the last couple of days, Don. As you know, he almost lost 2 on Thursday, did lose 2 on Friday, and here today, 3-3. It is not an easy matter for him in this one either.
Paul Gowsell's success is the fact that he puts a lot of pressure on the other skip. And if you can take that pressure and turn it around and put a little bit of pressure on Paul Gowsell, you have a good chance of beating him. And that's exactly what Hackner did in the round-robin game.
All right, the 6th end is underway of this semifinal with these teams tied at 3. They each have singles and pairs in the game so far. One blank end was the 2nd end, blank by Alan Hackner. Here's Kelly Stern in the lead with a 70% game so far today as he plays the hit on the shot rock, on the rings, back of the forefoot.
Kelly's thrown a lot of weight, and that rock is well out there. I think he's missed it.
More and more, you see, weight is critical here. Gowsell, I thought, underthrew one a little while ago, and it came over and wrecked on him. And now we see Stern overthrowing one, and that cost you as well. And so Northern Ontario with a great opportunity now. They've got the rock they need to steal the end, and they like to go to work trying to cover it up. Here's Bruce Kennedy at 80%. So we've seen some outstanding percentages so far this semifinal game. Nobody is seizing up under pressure, that's for sure.
Don, this is weight ice. You have to be very careful on your takeout. If you throw a variety of weights on takeouts, you're gonna lose a lot of curling games here. You have to control your draw weight and your takeout weight, more importantly.
And it's tough when you're asked to swing from one to the other. Right now, this guard attempt, also tough to place them with this ice that falls back down center where you want them. They haven't got it completely covered, but maybe half the rock is covered, but it's open to the outturned side for the Alberta team.
That's what they call a teaser. You kind of show the opposition a little bit of a corner, and not only that, you're in the forefoot, you're in the center part of the ice where there's a chance that you could steal a point. That's a good shot. Kelly Stern, of course, is going to have to cut back his weight here substantially if he's going to go around that guard and make contact with that shot rock. Well, out there, the viewers can see, look how it's hugging that line. It's not moving. It should start to move a bit now. Once it hits that hog line.
Yes, it does come for him a little bit. Going to make some contact and eliminate it. He'll roll to be open at the back of the 12-foot.
Surprising, this is the same way the 4th end started out. The rock over the right-hand side and a guard out in front, so we'll see what develops this end.
Next shooter is Bob Nickel, the 2nd for Northern Ontario.
This is an important shot for Nickel because if he hits and sticks there, Paul Gowsell has to either hit it or freeze to it. And if he rolls out here, there's a good chance that Gowsell will go around that center guard.
At 65% in this game is Nickel.
Nickel has cut down his weight substantially from the one that he threw in the 4th end. Now it's starting to cut over for him.
He's going to have it and stay. Just straddling the outer rim of the house. Remember, the important stone ultimately could be the one that is out in front. There it is, just off center. Northern Ontario Red Rock. Right now, Paul Gowsell is not too preoccupied with. He's going to just play to the back of the house. Glenn Jackson at 80%, the 2nd for the Alberta team. He's 22, comes from Lethbridge, Alberta. He's played for Gowsell and made a lot of money with him. Cash Bonspiels the last 6 years. These are the wealthiest teenagers in the West, I think, weren't they?
They've won a lot of money. They're just an excellent team.
World Junior Championship. Now on their first Brier.
That rock is starting to come. It looks like Jackson's got a good-looking shot here.
Well, you talk about a freeze, that's about as close as you may get. The one right there.
That's just tremendous control of your draw weight. You know, that is a difficult area to draw in because you haven't got much room for error. The rock is at the back of the house, and he just put it in there beautifully.
It's on the outside of the backing, so he has got a chance to get it out of there if he hits it just right.
Well, he doesn't have to spill them too far because the rocks are at the back. But he has to hit that Gowsell rock on the inside as opposed to the outside. He's a long way over there yet. He may lose everything, both his rocks here.
The shooter is going to remain shot, but it has been set up now for this exchange of shots. We talk about the rest of the way, ideally, whereby Gowsell could get his two.
See, Paul, it looks like he's going to play a freeze to the one at the back of the house that shot rock. And what he's saying, in effect, he's going to make Northern Ontario try to make the mistakes on this end.
Jackson with the outturn down to it.
This is a difficult draw for Jackson. He played on the tough part of the ice, going away into the boards, and now he's down center where it could be a little bit keener. Looks like he has lots of weight.
Looking good. He's got it. Just sets it back ever so quietly. Let's not forget that rock out in front. I still think that's going to figure in the final outcome in this end.
Well, it could very well be if Rick Lange can get an inside roll here. But the difficulty for the Northern Ontario team are those rocks are behind the tee line. Now, that can cause you all kinds of problems because the other team can just draw up to you.
Rick Lange started off with a strong performance. Had a couple of bad breaks in that end that Gowsell got two in, but is at 85%. So he's made more than he's missed by a good margin.
You hear them yell lots of weight. Now that rock is starting to move. He's still well up there.
And then they'll let it curl all at once. But it doesn't move except the wrong side. Or the open side, it's staggered right by an inch or so.
Well, surprising, Rick Lange just threw a hack weight, which is very quiet takeout weight, and that rock never moved very much once it got by the guard. You know, normally curling rocks from the hog line in will curl a little bit more because the rocks are slowing down. The ice is a little bit keener in there. But it never moved very much.
So the 23-year-old third, Neil Houston, about to deliver. Student of the University of Calgary. Curling is 12.
Good battle here between Houston and Lange, or Jackson and Lange, or Houston rather, because he's curling 80%.
This one's taking its time and coming over for them. Now it begins to react a little bit as it settles down, and he's going to move it right ever so slightly. Again, it's getting up around the 4 foot now where those rolls become critical. Let's go down to Don Whitman and the skip of the Manitoba team.
There are some people who have suggested that Earl Morris is the winner of the Don Chevrier look-alike contest. I can assure you the similarity ends there. There's no question that Earl Morris is an infinitely better curler than Don Chevrier. This week you got off to a bad start, Earl. You finished very strongly. I'm sure you'd like to replay a couple of those games earlier in the week.
That's right. There were about 3 games, Don. The game against Nova Scotia, the game against Alberta, and the game against Quebec. We had any one of those 3 games could have been ours, and as it turned out, they won all 3, and we got off to a bad start, as you say.
The ice is very, very good here in the Calgary Corral.
It's tremendous. I've been fortunate enough to spectate a lot of the last bunch of Briers in the 70s, and it's just been super. There's been some good curling, and the fans, I'm sure, have had a great time.
I understand next year there's a possibility you may be doing your rock tossing in the province of Quebec.
That's right. It looks like the military may be transferring me. I haven't found out for certain yet, but I may know more when I get back to Winnipeg.
Earl, wherever you are, good luck in the future.
Thanks very much, Don. And I have a grandfather in Saskatoon I'd like to say a quick hello to. He lives in the Veterans Home there. He's a Brier curler from 1933, Mr. Cliff McLaughlin.
Very good. Let's go back to the action now in this semifinal game.
Okay, Don, I don't think he looks that much like me, but he does have a nice hat. Well, there was the break that Alberta was looking for to get out of possible trouble in this end when Northern Ontario failed to stick, as you watch that rock go down the ice while they were talking with Earl Morris. So now Houston is going to try to draw in a spot that Paul Gowsell utilized very well a couple of ends ago. Behind that guard out in front, playing it with the interior.
He's well by the guard. I think if he gets by, he's going to be fairly well in the open. He's past the guard. The rock should start to curl now. Now it's starting to move a bit for him.
Well, again, it's in a spot where it's very difficult to get an inside roll. In fact, you've got a concern with getting the rock at all because it doesn't want to curl very much for you there. So
Well,
Hackner and Lange will look at it.
The key on this shot is, of course, weight once again. And I'm sure Alan Hackner realizes that Paul Gowsell got a roll there with his first rock in the fourth end, so he's going to be playing very quiet weight, hoping that his sweepers can hold it up. And at the last, just coming over the hog line, lift up their brooms and to get an inside roll. But if he overthrows it, that rock will not curl.
The skip of the Northern Ontario team is at 81% of this game. Alan Hackner, born in Nipigon, Ontario. In fact, he's got a cheering section up here. Spell his name out every game 3 or 4 times. Proclaim that Hackner's birthplace is, of all places, they say on the sign, Nipigon, the head of the lake.
Got a nice looking shot here. Looks like he has a nose hit. He might not get the roll.
Well, almost impossible, as we say, to get that kind of roll. But he makes it and sits there with shot rock.
You pretty well have to play just back ring weight or hack weight and kind of be on the inside of the rock and let your sweepers hold the rock up. Then at the last minute, let it duck a bit. You see, this is exactly the same shot that Paul Gowsell had in the fourth end. The only thing different is the rock is a little further into the house. It's biting the 8-foot or half of the 8-foot as opposed to the last one, which was on the 12-foot.
Gowsell has 2 rocks remaining. Hackner 1 in this, the 6th end, and a 3-3 tie.
You'll see the broom. It's right on the edge of the rock.
Gowsell at 70% in the semifinal game.
Oh, he's got a good looking rock. They're going to have to go to get it by. He's got a roll, I think.
Is moving over. Oh, he got by, though. He gets a roll to the open side. He just got by the guard. And the shooter is way over next to his other one. Top of it.
Oh, that was very, very close. That rock just got by the guard.
Here it is again. You'll see how close it came to wrecking out in front.
And it just gets by, and he's just a fraction over more. He's buried behind that guard. He hits about a half a rock. With the keenness of the ice, that rock rolls a long way over to the face of his other one.
So Hackner comes back now with thoughts of a double firmly planted in his mind. He wants to get them both out of there and force Gowsell to take one or blanket.
Well, he's going to have to hit this rock a little bit on the outside, and the danger here, if he hits it on the nose, that back one may stay. So he's got to be very careful. Lange has to make a good call here because he's got to decide whether he's going to hit it on the outside too thick or maybe go for the inside hit. It's a difficult shot for Hackner. There's lots of weight that jumps on it right away. Rick Lange just called him off it.
He needs fairly firm weight to hold the line down there. He's going to hit it on the outside.
No, he's not going to get it.
Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he does. They're both out. So is the shooter. So Paul Gowsell is going to get a chance to blank this end with his final rock, undoubtedly. And we'll have another look at, you're right, he almost didn't get it as to how close it was, the final few feet.
Well, look at it here. He makes a good double. But watch Rick Lange at the end here. You'll see him sweeping the rock out of the house, and the other one comes off the boards. Watch this. See, now he's sweeping the one. Look at the one coming off the boards. But there's no question the other one would have been out.
Anyway, sure. So, it looks as though we're going to remain in a tie through 6 ends. With nothing in the house, just the one out in front. And Paul Gowsell down to 1 rock. You'll notice they'll watch the line very carefully. This could be useful to them again somewhere at this place on the ice. They want to see how it behaves. He's just throwing it through.
He's throwing it through, Don, but let me tell you, he's playing the out-turn. There hasn't been an out-turn thrown down that side, and he's learning something by throwing that out-turn, how it reacts.
That's true. There's a chance to see what it does right there with takeout weight. So back and forth they went on that end until finally it winds up in a blank. And it's still tied at 3 after 6 complete ends. And let's go down to ice level again and join Don Whitman.
Well, Doug Maxwell is the executive director of the upcoming Air Canada Silver Broom in Moncton. And, Doug, we still have to declare our Canadian champion, but the Americans have just decided their champion.
Yeah, they had a tight one down in Bemidji, Minnesota, Don. Playoff this morning between Wisconsin's Steve Brown and Paul Pustovar of Minnesota. Both had wound up their 12-team round robin with 9-2 records. Pustovar won the playoff by a 7-5 count, and so he'll be coming in representing the United States. Now, he's been there before. He played third for Bruce Roberts in Karlstad, and the old Bruce Roberts front end is curling lead in second for him, Gary Cleffman and Jerry Scott. John Jankala is the third on that ring. So we're expecting big things out of them.
What about some other familiar faces from other countries?
Not many familiar faces, as a matter of fact. Only 2 from last year. Giuseppe Dalmolin from Italy and Jorn Block from Denmark are the old familiar faces. Then we have 4 new faces coming in. Barton Henderson is the U.S., or at least the Scottish team from Aberdeen. There's a new German team, Fran Engler. Henri Mueller is the French team.
Pierre Bowen's not back.
Pierre Bowen is not back. No, it's Henri Mueller from Bischheim, wherever that may happen to be. And Jörg Tanner, a past European champion and a former Swiss junior champion who has his father playing at second, will be in for Switzerland. So those are the teams that have been decided so far. Of course, we have to get Canada decided, and then Sweden and Norway this weekend.
All right, Doug Maxwell, we'll look forward to the Air Canada Silver Broom. We'll be back here at the Brier right after this.
Can you imagine trying to photograph an Olympic gold medalist like Jean-Claude Killy? It's quite a challenge. Made me really appreciate my Canon AE1. The automatic shutter priority system is a must, especially when your subject's doing 50 miles an hour. Try it, it's fun. What? The AE1 is so simple to use. About all you do is focus and click.
The incomparable Canon AE1. So advanced, it's simple. Canon, the official 35mm camera of the 1980 Lake Placid Winter Games.
Another day, another dollar. Cutting out, I'm moving out of here. Cutting out for some good times, I'm really glad I'm here.
Canada's great taste in ale. What a beer to share.
Me and the boys in our 50s, me and the boys in our beer.
Whether you buy or rent formal wear from Sid Silver in Toronto, it's going to fit perfectly. On all those tough fitting jobs, we just don't put in a tuck here and a tuck there. At Sid Silver, we cut and sew to make sure that every garment that leaves our store fits the wearer like it was tailor-made. And you have to see our selection to believe how many styles we have, in all sizes and in just about every color you can imagine. Come into Sid Silver, 500 Yonge Street, Toronto. Believe me, we'll look after you.
Next Saturday on Sports Weekend, the World Junior Curling Championship live from Kitchener, Ontario. It's the semifinal round. From Lake Louise, Alberta, the country's best skiers in the downhill of the Canadian Alpine Championships as they take on the challenging World Cup course. English First Division Soccer, exciting highlights of the match between Ipswich and Manchester United, and up-to-date standings. And more of the 1980 Canadian superstars replacing horsepower with muscle power. Next Saturday on Sports Weekend. And more news for the skiers from Oberstaufen in West Germany, where that giant slalom race was held today. The finals there. Andreas Wenzel of Liechtenstein won it with a time of 2 minutes 14.93 seconds, and he is trying to clinch that championship. Jacques Luthi of Switzerland was in second place, and surprisingly enough, Ingemar Stenmark, who many say is the best in the world and will be for some time in slalom, finished in third position. So those are the results from Oberstaufen in West Germany. In Calgary, in the seventh end, Alberta and Northern Ontario are tied 3-3. So let's get back there for the Labatt Brier.
All right, Ernie, this seventh end underway with the seconds rocks being played. There's just the one out in front. Belongs to Northern Ontario.
You know, Don, this game is just like a game of chess on ice. Northern Ontario had put one out in front, and Paul hit it off. Now there's another one out in front, but it's a little bit longer, so he's decided to go in. You know, and there's a certain time in the game when you have to switch from offense to defense, and Paul has played this game defensively throughout this end, but now he's going to offense.
He blanked the last end, remember, to keep last rock advantage here going into this 7th end. Nice weight. Not quite going to be buried for him, about half of it maybe or more. Again, it's a difficult spot in which to go after a rock.
Well, it's a difficult spot in so much as that you have to be very careful of your weight. You can see a half a rock, but if you throw any kind of weight at all, like bumper weight, that rock will not curl for you. So you have to just play quiet weight just to the back of the rings. Give the rock a chance to work or to curl in.
Rick Lange, who is still only 26 years of age. He's in the Brier for the 3rd time. Won it in 1975 with Bill Tetley.
He yelled whoa right away, so he's still well out there. Now they're starting to work on it. No, they call him off it. Look at that rock go. It's not moving 1 inch. Just that extra weight, he might catch a corner of it.
He does. He'll drive it across the house. He actually got enough to get it all the way out. It looked as though it might stay back there, but it's off. That's what I meant. You were saying, too, about that place on the ice. If you're a little lighter, well, you run the risk of not having enough steam to get rid of it. If you're heavy, it's going to hang out on you.
Now, Paul realizes that they were very close to missing that one, so he's going to try to bring that rock in just maybe another foot deeper and a little bit in behind the guard. So, of course, he's got the man throwing, Neil Houston. He can make those great come-around shots. He has really impressed me this week.
Well, the 2 young shooters getting set to determine a winner here to challenge the old man. Rick Folk is 30 years of age, just turned 30 this week.
They're sweeping for line. More than weight. Looks like he's going to get by. It just depends on his weight. He looks a little bit stronger.
Yes, he does.
Than Glenn Jackson's rock. It is really coming down now. Is it going to stop in the back of the 12-foot?
Well back, whatever it is. Yes, it'll hang on in the 12.
You can see it's a little bit more in behind the guard, like it's completely buried, but it's well to the back of the rings.
Alberta heading into yesterday's final 2 rounds of the round-robin competition. Had a virtual lock on first place until they lost their last 2 games and wound up finishing in 3rd. They shared 2nd in terms of wins and losses with Northern Ontario at 8-3. But because Northern Ontario had beaten Alberta in the round-robin, 2nd place went to the Northern Ontario team. So here they are today, battling for Brier survival.
This is a bit of a gamble by Alan Hackner. He is playing not down to the rock. He's just trying to get around that guard, maybe on top of the 4-foot in front of the tee line.
He's just trying to better what the previous attempt by Houston was. He came a little bit deep. He wants to be up higher in the house. Of course, he got the backing if he does come on too strong of the one at the back. Not a bad shot all in all. He's going to get by the guard just nicely. And again, he's fairly strong. He'll be right down to this one. He's going to stay there. Throws it to it. Virtually throws it. He bumped it back by an inch or so.
You'll see Rick Lange. He has got a very smooth delivery. He doesn't put the broom down for balance. He kind of leaves it on the ice. But you'll see he swings the rock, gets nicely in behind the rock, and I think the key to Rick Lange's success is the fact that he keeps his shoulders very straight. Arm a little bent, nice follow-through motion. Look at his shoulders, how square he is to the broom.
So now Gowsell will hold the broom for his 3rd. Neil Houston.
Well, Paul Gowsell didn't mind that shot by Rick Lange because as long as that rock's back of the tee line, he has something to come to.
And he's just playing draw weight down there. Little overdraw.
He'll just nestle up to it. What he doesn't want to do, of course, is hit it and roll into the open side. He just wants to come down to it. He's got nice control of his weight. Now it's starting to move over a bit.
That's a pretty good shot.
Excellent shot. If you had to develop a curling delivery, I think you'd have to agree that Neil Houston has probably got one of the finest curling deliveries in the game of curling. Look at it. Look at his sliding foot right in behind that rock. Nice and low. He starts out high, gets right down low. Nice follow-through motion. The rock just flows out of his hand. He's got a beautiful curling delivery. Great balance.
Just wondering now, is it not possible with the angle of this to have Hackner remove the shot rock of Alberta's and save his own second shot on that backing while retaining his shooter? It looks as though they're lined up in that fashion.
There's a good chance. He has to hit the rock pretty well on the nose or a little bit on the inside. If he does that, that yellow one's going to go onto his own, and he's going to take the two Alberta rocks out and maybe lie two. He's got to be very careful here, though, with his weight.
He's playing a bit more weight than the last couple of shots we saw.
Oh, he's well out there. He is well out there. Now the rock is starting to move.
There it is, coming for him now.
Oh, he's got a nice-looking shot.
What he's done, he's filled it back. It's close between those two as to which his second shot. Very, very close between the two, but the backing is there for the first shot, just deposited by Alan Hackner.
That's an excellent shot by Alan Hackner, but I think Alberta is lying second shot. Maybe if Rick Lange had a gun on that one right away, he might have spun that Alberta shot, and they would have been lying two.
Well, depending on where Gowsell sends this one, it may not matter, but see how close it is between the yellow Alberta stone and the red Northern Ontario stone there at the back.
The difficulty here, if Gowsell gets this rock buried, and if he's in front of the button, how do you get shot rock out of it? You're pretty well forced to play the outturn, and they haven't played too many outturns down there.
That's right. This is Gowsell's first rock of the seventh end. He has last rock advantage in it. He's been gambling for two. This one.
Houston's yelling whoa. He's well by the guard. It looks like he has the weight. Houston yelling, let it bend. Now it's starting to move in there. He's by the guard the same.
It's really quiet. He'll just be up on top of it. And will sit there in front of it. So a bit of a gamble on the part of Paul Gowsell there.
Well, by getting it in there, he knows that Hackner's not going to get more than one this end unless he can really hit it on the inside, and I don't think he can. The way the rock is curling there, it's staying very straight. And they're taking a long, hard look at it. But if he can make contact with that and just get a little bit of a roll to the inside, he could be lying too. But look at how much room he's got between that long guard.
He'll go out and have a look at it from the other end as he slides down now with the ice indicated there for us by Rick Lange. Alan Hackner was on an Alberta mixed championship team. 1977, he won the Alberta Mixed Championship, and he was working as a commercial traveler in that area, so national competition is certainly not new to him.
You see by the ice he's taking. He's taking about 6 inches of ice. But once again, the key to this shot is his weight. He cannot afford to hit it on the outside. He just has to move it about 1.5 feet. Oh, he's got lots of weight. He's stronger than his first one.
Now to that guard.
He's well by the guard.
Way on the outside of it.
He may chip it out the other way.
That's what he's done. Well, he got something out of it. He still has a shot at the back there, but he was indeed fortunate to get that rock at all.
Well, Don, judging by the weight that he threw, that's the way they might have been playing it. Rather than take a chance on hitting on the inside, they said, well, let's corner it on the outside, force Gowsell to take one in the odd end.
Well, it could have been it.
I was eavesdropping on the discussion that was taking place involving Lange and Hackner, and that is the way they were planning and trying to chip that one out of there.
Good, thanks, Don. Of course, when you try to execute those little chips and just getting pieces of rocks, you can run a risk of missing them completely, too. But he got it.
You know, that is great control when you can go down and say, okay, look, I'm going to hit a half a rock on the outside and drive it by two of our own. Boy, that is great, great curling.
Of
course, Gowsell, I don't know whether he can get 2 out of this end or not. He may if he hits it just right.
Well, here it is, last attempt in the 7th end. Score tied at 3.
He's got a little extra weight.
Now he calls them on. He wants it right up there.
He's just going to get the 1.
Draw weight coming up to the face of the other one, and he will sit there on top of it for a single point. But Hackner did his job in that end. He prevented Gowsell from getting more than 1 with that last draw. Gowsell had blanked the previous end, so the single point gives Alberta a 1-point lead after 7 ends of 4-3. And let's go down now and rejoin Don Whitman.
As they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. It seems all of the competing curlers have adopted the Calgary Stetson. Al Dalmage?
Well, Don, this is Calgary. You got to go with the trend, I guess.
Al, your territories rink did a pretty fine job this week. You threw quite a scare into Paul Gowsell in play on Thursday.
Well, we went an extra end against Paul and had him shooting his last rock at one of ours that was partially hidden in behind, so he had to make a good shot to win the game.
What has been your reaction to the play in this semifinal?
There's been very few misses. The skips have been putting it up to one another, and it's coming out very good. Very close game.
Al, perhaps we'll see you next year in Halifax.
Thank you very much, Don.
And we'll return to this semifinal match here in the Calgary Corral right after we pause for these messages.
This is the Transport Canada Fuel Consumption Guide. It gives the fuel efficiency ratings for cars sold in Canada. This is a 4.4-liter V8 Caprice, a beautiful 6-passenger Chevrolet that has a lower list price than these imports. Its fuel efficiency rating is better than any of them, and no gasoline-powered full-size North American car can beat it. And the Caprice has the traditional ride and comfort of a Chevrolet. At General Motors, we're committed to leadership in fuel efficiency.
Cutting out, I'm moving out of here. Working for the man, brother. Riding out for some good times, a long, long way from here. Gonna spend some time my way. Really glad I'm here.
Canada's great taste in ale. What a beer to share.
Me and the boys in our 50. Me and the boys and our beer.
When you need tires, you need Family Auto. For selection, for names you trust, like the one and only Michelin, BF Goodrich, Daytona. Trust Family Auto for domestic, import, van, RV, and performance requirements. When you need tires, you need Family Auto advice, alignment, installation, and balancing. When you need tires, remember, Family Auto will not be undersold on tires.
No Frills Tire Sale this week at all 23 Family Auto locations.
As boxing fans know, Muhammad Ali and Leon Spinks are making comebacks to try and get that heavyweight title back. Well, there's a very interesting bout going on this afternoon in Las Vegas, Nevada, as Leon Spinks is fighting Eddie Animal Lopez. The interesting part about this fight is that 500 ringside fans will actually play judge. They're hooked up to computers, and after every round, they will vote for the fighter they think won that particular round. They'll be totaled, and the winner will be declared. Well, an interesting innovation, but we're wondering just how many of those fans actually have a bet on the fight itself. Right now, though, it's curling, and back to Calgary as Alberta is leading Northern Ontario 4-3.
Well, I'm sure there are a couple of bets around this audience of 5,000 to 6,000 people as to the outcome of this one today, which right now is in Alberta's favor at 4-3. There's the scoreboard in behind the sheet with a single point scored by Gowsell on the 7th end. He gives up last rock here in the 8th end to Alan Hackner of Northern Ontario. And they've played the lead rocks. Here's the second, Glenn Jackson, curling beautifully, 86%.
Boy, that is a beautiful percentage. Let me tell you, 86%. They're playing the 8th end. That's tremendous curling. Of course, Paul Gowsell would dearly love to steal a point on this end, and that way he would kind of control the game. And conversely, Northern Ontario, Alan Hackner, he'd love to score 2, and that way he would control the game. So it's kind of a cat and mouse game. Just a very critical end for both teams.
Kelly Sturr in the lead for Alberta is at 68%, and Bruce Kennedy, the lead for Northern Ontario, 77%. Besides Jackson with his 86, he puts it in the back of the 4-foot, and now here's the second for Northern Ontario, Bob Nickel.
You see Alan Hackner, he just tapped the bumper and asked Bobby Nickel to just hit it to back there, so it's all a question of weight.
Bit of a saw-off with Kennedy of Northern Ontario out-curling his counterpart, and Jackson out-curling his counterpart at second for Alberta.
Boy, that rock is running very straight. He's upped his weight a bit, and that rock is not moving.
Blowing out a little bit, if anything, but he'll have a corner of it, enough to remove it and roll out of play.
So what you want to do on this end, if you're Hackner, is to hang around, hoping that maybe the Gowsell team will hit and roll off, and that way maybe you can get a corner guard up and try to get your 2 points that way.
We have only one for each team. 2-point counts this game. The fourth end for Alberta, and right back on the fifth end for Northern Ontario. And key mistakes open the door of opportunity to get those pairs in both cases.
That's exactly right. If you make 1 or 2 mistakes in a curling game against either of these teams, you're going to get some points scored on you. And it's who makes the fewest mistakes in a curling game that usually ultimately comes out to be the winner.
He's up full of the 12-foot.
And here you see Glenn Jackson from our handheld camera behind, just how a great controlled backswing he has. Nice motion in behind the rock. And look how smooth he is, Don. He's lined up, rock, sliding foot, and trailing foot. All in a line, and his shoulders are square.
Nice delivery.
Bobby Nickel has taken quite a bit of weight off this one. The rock is still staying very straight. Now it's starting to work over. Is he going to hang around in that corner?
He was a little quieter, but no, it is off. Nothing in play. Keeping a nice and clean now. And we're getting down to thirds rocks in this, the 8th end. 4-3 Alberta. And tomorrow we'll have the Brier final for you. The championship game. The winner of this one against Rick Folk of Saskatchewan. And then next weekend we'll be in Kitchener for the World Junior Curling Championship Saturday and Sunday. St. John, Newfoundland the following weekend for the National Mixed Final. Winding up with the Silver Broom at the end of the month in Moncton, New Brunswick. Again, 2-day coverage Saturday and Sunday on CBC television. Neil Houston, 82% right now.
And anytime you have your second and third curling in the 80s, boy, you've got a curling team on your hand. They are just really superb. And once again,
right up near that 4-foot. Let's check his delivery out, Don.
Well, he has a similar delivery to Glenn Jackson. You'll see that he nice backswing. He too gets in behind the rock, turns his foot slightly, but he starts out high. Look how he gradually gets lower in behind the rock on his follow-through. You know, when you throw the rock like that, you're very seldom going to get yourself in trouble. He throws the rock the same way all the time, whether it's a hit or a draw. And that's the key to success in a curling delivery.
Rick Lange at 82%.
Well, it's a well-curled game. Once again, down that tricky out-turn side.
That'll stay right about there.
And Rick Lange, the only difference, he keeps his broom on the ice. Nice backswing. He takes a big sidestep motion, but he kind of jumps out of that. He uses a lot of leg drive, arm slightly bent. He has a tendency just to extend his arm for the follow-through. Just a little bit different motion in Rick Lange's delivery as opposed to Jackson and Houston.
Here's Houston.
He's throwing pretty good weight at this one. That rock is staying very straight, and I think he may roll out with this one.
If he gets it at all, yeah, just a piece of it. It did flare out with the extra weight. Well, we're getting down to the final 5 rocks. And while they get to shoot the last of the third, we'll go down and check in with Don Whitman again.
With me, a former Canadian champion, Jimmy Ercel, whose Quebec rink relegated Paul Gowsell into this playoff situation with that victory yesterday on the final draw. Jimmy, we were talking earlier. This year, probably one of the toughest fields the Brier has ever had.
Well, I think so, Don. I've played in it, I guess, my 7th time now. It's the toughest toughest Brier that toughest field that I've seen from an overall point of view.
You finished with that 6-4 record. It looked as though you were going to get in 7-4, I should say. It looked as though you were going to get into a playoff round, except in the morning you got knocked off by Prince Edward Island.
That's right, and Prince Edward Island's record really wasn't all that good, and that just shows you how tough this field is, because they played a tremendous game against us and really knocked us out of contention.
Jimmy, this is the first year of this format. How do the curlers feel about it?
I think they like it. I haven't, of course, taken a poll of all the curlers, but I think it's a good idea. I think it's exciting.
Jimmy Ercel, thanks very much for stopping by, and we hope we'll see you next year in Halifax.
Hope so, Don.
All right, let's go back for more action in this 8th end of the semifinal game.
All right, Don. Well, Doogie, I guess the only guy who might be mildly concerned about the format is Rick Folk. It matters to no one else but Rick Folk, and he likes it just fine. He's ready for tomorrow and getting anxious to play against the winner of this. We may have Rick drop by in a little while to share his thoughts on this semifinal game with us and the outlook for tomorrow.
Once again, a clear house in Gowsell, curling 75%. And he will be playing it into the 4-foot area. And if he gets it on the button and Hackner happens to miss it, he'll plug it up to the guard. But it looks to me like potentially this could be a blank. And
looks that way. This is the 8th end, 4-3 Alberta. As Gowsell puts it in the 8-foot near that center line. And let's analyze the man who's so controversial in his off-the-ice behavior, Paul Gowsell.
Well, he's once again got a similar delivery. He takes a big sidestep motion, but once again, his key is the fact that he keeps his shoulders square. He gets right in behind the rock and just takes his hand off the rock. He's got a good follow-through motion, but the key to all those deliveries, and you can tell a lot of young people that, you know, the tuck delivery versus a flat-footed, but the key to the curling delivery is you must keep your shoulders square and get in behind the curling rock.
Well, he has been the sharpshooter of the West these last 4 or 5 years.
He certainly has that. Look at here, 88%. That's unbelievable for a skip, Alan Hackner. 88%.
Out-curled Gowsell by quite a wide margin then in this game. 88-75. And he is going to roll over.
Going to hang on? No, sir.
Nope, he's gone. So again, with one each, Gowsell is liable to put one down and Hackner to take it out. Let's check the delivery of Alan Hackner now.
Once again, for a handheld camera, you'll see what a nice delivery Alan Hackner has. He has nice sidestep motion. Everything comes back together. He, too, gets right in behind the rock. And similar to Houston, he starts out a little high and then drops lower as he's going through his follow-through.
He hardly uses that broom at all for balance. He just puts it down, lifts it up.
Well, he's got such great balance. You know, he turns that sliding foot out and drops his body down in between his knees so that he's got good balance.
2 rocks to come in this 8th end.
See how Paul take that hand off the rock? Like most people follow through with it. He kind of lets it go, gets his weight, and just takes his hand off it fast.
Like it's hot or something.
Yes.
Burning it.
And they haven't laid a brush to it. He's going to be well into the 4-foot. How's that to control your draw weight? Not a brush on it all the way down. He drops it right on the button.
So, Hackner now will be going after the blank. I would suspect there's the old even end theory that maybe you try to take the 1 here on the even end and be even at 4, give him 1 on the 9th, see what you can do in the 10th.
Well, I think you'd like to hit and roll out here. Anytime you have last rock, you should try to always score more than 1 point. Conversely, if you do not have last rock, you always try to force the team to take one. If they take one, you've done your job. So I would suspect that Hackner would like to hit and roll out here. You know, in Paul Gowsell's draw weight, that's sure a front end saver from sweeping.
Yeah.
You know, when the skip can throw it right to the button.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these guys can do that and have done it throughout this week here at the Labatt Brier in Calgary.
And interesting enough, Hackner's gone to the in-turn rather than as opposed to the out-turn. They played about 8 out-turns down that center, and he's gone to the in-turn side. And he's going to hit it right on the nose.
Right here. He does. Right on the nose. For 1. And that is going to bring them even again. Now after the 8th end to play at 4-4. So we'll return to this 1980 Labatt Brier from Calgary in just a moment.
Well, when there's a lot of tough work to be done, you can count on a Chevy to come on strong. You can count on a Chevy to come on strong. Pickup, Blazer, Suburban, or van, they're all beautifully tough. When you're getting ready to meet the crowd, you can count on a Chevy to do you proud. To do you proud. It's Saturday night beautiful and Monday morning tough.
Riding through the countryside with winter's trails as our guide, and when we hear those friendly sounds, it's good times all around. Time for smiling, sailor that's blue. Blue smiles along with you.
Like since 50 years of making memories.
Most camera stores carry the same cameras at pretty much the same prices. But one store has a camera guarantee that covers 3 years parts and labor and 1 year accidental damage at no extra charge. One store, Black's. Now, where are you going to buy your camera?
Black's is photography.
Well, the Brier is going on in Calgary, but we want to remind everyone that tomorrow in Kitchener, the World Junior Curling Championship gets underway, and Canada is represented by a rink from Winnipeg, Mert Thompson. And Thompson opens against Scotland in the match in their first one. That should be a very tough one. And since the inception of the World Junior Tournament, that was back in 1975, Canada has captured 3 titles. Paul Gowsell of Calgary, who is playing today in the semifinal of the Brier, won in 76 and 78. While Bill Jenkins of Charlottetown won it in 1977. Last year, Canada didn't win it, but did finish in 3rd place, and that rink was skipped by Darren Fish of Edmonton. So the World Championship for juniors starts tomorrow. We want to remind everyone we'll have coverage of that for you next weekend on Sports Weekend. Right now, back to Calgary and the Labatt Brier.
Well, here in the 9th end, they've played the lead rocks now in a 4-4 tie. Alberta and Northern Ontario for the right to go on to play Saskatchewan's Rick Folk team from Saskatoon for the title tomorrow. And mistakes now are going to be very, very costly. You've got to watch for the late nose hit situation, Don Duguid, where somebody who's trying to clear the front end off leaves one out in front, and the other guy jumps on it, comes in behind, and maybe steals it.
Well, we got an indication very early that Northern Ontario had a corner guard up, and Paul's got last rock, and normally he might go around that one. So it appears to me that rather than gamble, he's going to play for the last rock and blank the end and have last rock in the 10th end.
Okay. Just on the side to get it out of play. So nothing in play right now, with each team having played 3 rocks in this 9th end. Each have a pair. 2 singles apiece with 2 blank ends. That's the scoreboard right up to this point here. Bob Nickel at second for Northern Ontario. Just laying one out in front, as has been the policy of Hackner throughout this end. He took one on the 8th end to force this 4-4 tie.
They don't want to leave this one too far out. If they leave it too far out, as in the 6th end, or the 8th end, Gowsell may go around it, but it's halfway between the house and the hog line. This will give it an indication what Paul's going to do. He's going to try and blank the end. He's running off everything at the front.
Rick Folk has joined us up here now, who's eagerly awaiting the winner of this game. Rick, they're keeping it pretty clean throughout most of the day. It's not exactly what you'd call the old draw game Saturday afternoon at the local club, is it?
No, that's for sure, Don. Both teams are playing, quite open and, waiting for a break.
All right, let's see what they have on this one. Yes, just the corner of it will take it out of play. So it's going to keep it clean once again. Well, Rick, as Doogie has said, and we said earlier, it often comes down to a mistake late in the game like this when it is this tight. Somebody staying out in front or something of that nature.
That's right. Hackner right now would like to get some out front so that he can come around towards the end of the end. And actually, Paul's looking for a blank end here and take his point on the last end. So I'm sure, unless there is a break on the 9th, that, they're going to continue this for at least, another end and a half.
What about this day you've had off now? You going to throw some rocks later on or tomorrow morning to get ready for that final?
Yeah, we're going to throw right after this game here, get ready for tomorrow. And then if we feel stiff or anything, we're going to throw again in the morning. So we're going to be ready.
You bet. Should be a great final. All that remains now is to see who's going to be on the ice against you.
Rick,
Alberta or Northern Ontario.
It almost boils down to, in this type of ice, being very keen and very fast. Who wins the toss, how you plan your entire game. When you lose the toss and the guy scores 2 in the very first end, boy, you're playing catch-up on fast, straight ice.
That's right. That's what we found all during the week. We had a bad stretch there at the beginning. We lost 8 out of our first 9 tosses, and we found ourselves behind the 8 ball quite a bit early in the game and had to come back. And, finally yesterday we won 2 tosses, and in both instances got 2 in the first end. It makes a big difference when the other team has to come to you.
This rock by Rick Lange is on the top of the 12-foot, and right now, third man Neil Houston for this Alberta team is going after it. This might change things a little bit if it stays on the ring. And it's flaring out there near center again. He'll just have a corner of it, and both go out of play. So, Rick, are you at all concerned about a lack of momentum between Friday and Sunday's final, or are you instead enjoying this free day away from curling just for a change?
Well, this is, I consider this a bonus for us because I fully expected to be curling today instead of tomorrow because I didn't think Paul would lose twice yesterday. So the day off is a bonus for us, and instead of having to win 2 straight, we only have to win 1 straight. So, we're going to be very ready for tomorrow.
You bet. Good luck to you in that game. I look forward to watching in action.
Thanks, Dan. Or Don. It should be a good one.
Thanks for stopping by. Rick Folk, skip of this Saskatchewan team who's, probably about 20 minutes away from knowing which it's going to be, Alberta or Northern Ontario, against them tomorrow. Nothing in play except this one red Northern Ontario stone getting across the hog line now out in front. As the pattern continues, they're in varying depths on the ice. They're short, they're long, they're in the house. But they've all been gone up to this point. And that's the aim of Paul Gowsell right here for his third Neil Houston.
And there's no question Paul Gowsell is playing for a blank end. Now, what Hackner has to hope for with his last one, maybe put it in the house and hope that Paul Gowsell hits it on the nose and takes his point. But Paul's played this entire end just for the blank.
Well, that took a little bit of sweeping, but it's the same net result. It's way over there.
And out of
top of the boards, it's out. Nice to see those skips sweep just ever so often, once in a while.
There hasn't been a good sweeping skip for 20 years.
Just the 20, you say? No rocks on the ice except those piled at either end. Rick Lange will hold the broom for his skip, Alan Hackner. Blank end strategy of Paul Gowsell working out very well for him to this stage. Skip rocks of N9 and a 4-4 tie. The big key in this game for Northern Ontario was their ability to pounce back in the 5th end after having fallen behind 3-1 and get 2 to tie it at 3. And it has been just a case of trading shots ever since that point.
Well, this is an interesting call by Hackner. What he doesn't want to do here is drop it behind the tee line, maybe allowing Gowsell the opportunity to freeze to it. But I would think where he's put it now, Paul just going to play the open hit.
Just up in the 8-foot at the front. Wasting no time again, knowing exactly what he's after. Indicating the ice to Houston on a corner of the rock.
And that's one thing about Paul Gowsell. He does not take a long time to decide. He knows well ahead of time exactly what shot he's going to play. I think through all the games that he's playing this week, he might have stopped and deliberated maybe 3 or 4 times at the most.
Gowsell has said he never lost 3 games in a row, and that will be the case if he fails to win this one today. He lost his final 2, the last 2 rounds yesterday.
He's throwing big weight at this one. The rock is starting to come over. I don't think he's going to hang around with a shooter.
He's going to be over and out. I think it stays in play, though, just off the board, but not on the ring. So now Hackner and Lange as Gowsell walks back. Sort of what to do, try to find a place in this ice that Gowsell might have a little trouble with, might be a little tricky. This is where you go back in your memory and say, what's it done now the last 8 ends?
That's why you have to watch the ice at all times, because in situations like this, you're looking for a spot maybe where there's a little bit of a run, and maybe the opposing skip doesn't throw his in-turn very well. Not suggesting that these fellows don't, but
you look for things like
you look for things like this, especially in a close game like this. You're looking for a break or a little bit of help.
Just a little edge you might need to make it happen or not happen, as the case may be. All right. Hackner has that spot all picked out. Maybe somewhere near the center ice area. So the fall comes into play, depending on the weight.
He's taking ice just a little bit inside the center line, and the rock runs very straight there, and it'll curl at the end. What he's hoping for, of course, Paul going to throw a little bit extra weight, and he'll stay straight, maybe hit it on the nose. He's got lots of weight. He's going to be well to the back, maybe back 8 foot.
Well, they take him back through the 80s in the 12, and Gowsell has to make a play for it over there in that spot, but he seems to know what he wants right away. Down goes the broom.
Well, that's an easier spot to roll out from because the rock is at the back of the house. You don't have much further to roll with your shooter, as opposed to the top of the house. If you rock it to the top of the house, you got the whole house to roll through. This way, he just has to roll through the back of the 12 foot.
Of course, his big aim is contact. He's got to get rid of it here to get a shot at this blank end of the 9th. The score tied 4-4. This is the last rock of end number 9.
And Neil Houston will be watching this one very closely. As soon as he lets it go, he has to determine to get the rollout. They're really working on it. He's very close.
I don't know if he's going to roll out.
No, sir.
No, he's not. He stays. Gowsell swings his broom in frustration and anger as he gives up a chance to blank and has to take a point on this 9th end. He gives up last rock in the 10th end coming up. And we will have that 10th end for you with the score. Alberta 5 and Northern Ontario 4. We'll be right back.
Okay, everybody up. Let's go.
The competitive instinct is very much alive in this country, and very much alive at Labatt's. We brew a lighter tasting beer that has to compete with all the great beers of Canada before you'll call it yours. Labatt's Special Light. Here's to competition. It is special.
There are lots of television listings, but there's only one television magazine, TV Guide, the authority on television. Written by the top critics and observers of the television medium. Articles on everything from TV celebrities to TV news reporters, sports figures to political leaders, the people who make the scenes and the people behind them. It's all in TV Guide, the TV magazine. This week's issue on sale now.
I've always been one for those things in life that last forever. Fine jewelry, fine motor cars. So imagine how excited I was when I found out Speedy guarantees my muffler for as long as I own my car. Speedy will guarantee the muffler on your car for as long as you own it, be it domestic or imported. It goes without saying that that can save you money. It's wonderful how some things seem to last forever. Unfortunately, the Major didn't last forever.
Still to come, English First Division Soccer, Everton against Liverpool. And more of the 1980 Canadian superstars completing their gym tests. And from Montreal, Dick Irvin and a National Hockey League report. All right, we're going back to Calgary now. It's the 10th end, and Alberta leading Ontario 5-4. Good one going there. Don?
You bet it is, Ernie. In the 10th end, they have played 3 rocks, and Alberta has 2 on the rings. But this is a chance that I think Northern Ontario would welcome, and that is to have some rocks in play, because they want to get more than one here with their last rock. Remember, Gowsell took one when he stuck on a blank attempt in the 9th end.
Well, Hackner is playing this end the same way he played that 5th end. He's going to gamble for 2 points for all he's worth. He don't care how many rocks are in play, as long as he gets one in front of one. And he's going to put a lot of pressure on Gowsell here to make some very delicate hits. So you don't care how many rocks in. He's saying to himself, I've got last rock, that's worth 1 point, so potentially I'm tied the game. Now I'm going to try to win it. But like I said earlier, you have to be prepared to throw that last rock.
Just off the corner of it and sitting right there. Bruce Kennedy, the lead for Northern Ontario, has outscored Kelly Stern of Alberta 74-71. A close contest there in percentages in this game. And now Glenn Jackson will be shooting for Paul Gowsell's Alberta team, indicated a takeout on that Northern Ontario stone at the back. But this could be a very interesting end on with these rocks in play. It's been, well, a little quiet the last couple as they've been blanking, taking singles. But now, you know, Northern Ontario's playing for 2 if they can get it for the win. 88% for Jackson.
Paul Gowsell won't be too upset if he takes both those rocks, the Ontario rock and his own.
And is what he's going to get. And the shooter, too, leaving just the 1 rock near the front.
See, Paul Gowsell knows that the more rocks he gets in play, the more trouble he can get himself in. So Paul Gowsell played it this way. He's playing a hit on the Northern Ontario rock, hoping to remove his own and the shooter. He doesn't want a wall back there that they can freeze to, so good shot, spills them all.
Now there is the ice being given to Bob Nickel, the Northern Ontario second. So he's scoring 72%. Try that in-turn draw that we saw Gowsell utilize so well earlier in this game.
Yes, well, I think Bobby Nickel laid this rock a little bit inside. Like, he is not going to go around that rock that's on the center. He's going to be well up to it. Now it's starting to move.
He's a little strong. He's going to bump up Gowsell's, sending it into the 4-foot. And now, of course, the decision for Gowsell. I put a good cap on this right away. I kind of think you might go for it right now. Try to sew it up, get Northern Ontario playing defensively.
No way. He'll just play that front red one off. He's not going to take any chances. He don't care if he kills that one in the 4-foot. He's playing for the extra end right now. He says, I'm going to give you one here, and I'll beat you in the extra end.
All right. Here's Jackson going after it. Keep it on the outside. He'll pass by his own all right.
Oh, he's throwing it well out there.
He is on the outside of the
boy, that rock with that extra weight, it is floating out on him. He's got his own.
He has. He's killed his own, left Northern Ontario. Off goes the Alberta stone, and with 4 rocks to go, Northern Ontario's in the position now of being able to trade shots for the win.
Well, I don't think Jackson thought very clearly on that rock. He really threw that one. That's probably the hardest rock that he's thrown all week. And you just see by the reaction of the rock, it fell all the way.
Tough break for Alberta right there. He did throw big weight at it.
Oh, he sure did. Let me tell you, now Paul Gowsell's going to have to maybe play a freeze-type game to get out of this one, because potentially the winning rock is in Bobby Nickel's hands.
And here it is, the last rock of the second player in this 10th end.
Let me tell you, he's better short than through the house. If you're short, at least you can draw around it and score your 2 points that way, but he's throwing a lot of weight here. They haven't laid a brush to it yet. Oh, Paul Gowsell may get out of this end. Is it going through the house? No, they're starting to work on it now. They're going to take it well back.
Forward to the back, and they want to get it way back at a double range, and they do. So Northern Ontario's lying 1-2. We will check the delivery of Bobby Nickel here.
You'll see Bobby Nickel. He's got what we call a wide sweeping sidestep motion with his sliding foot. Look how he whips it around behind him. He really takes it behind him. and really drives out with his hack foot. You know, that's what causes him to drift a bit. That big sidestep motion, he kind of throws the rock, his foot in behind the rock too fast, and it turns his body slightly.
And now Gowsell is going to have a conference with his third, Neil Houston, because as you suggested, Don, they may be about to have a change in strategy in view of what's happened.
Well, Alberta's got 4 rocks left. Northern Ontario's got 4 rocks left. Northern Ontario, of course, having advantage of last rock. If you hit one of those rocks, that means that Northern Ontario has to hit it 4 times if they're going to win it. So maybe Paul's saying, well, the heck with it, let's freeze to it. Let's hope that if they play the takeout, they take one of their own out, we can get out of this end. And he's going to play the hit.
Yep. He's going to play the hit down that front door, just to the left of center. You will get it. Although he's having second thoughts.
Less than a quarter.
Just above the ice.
All yelled down a little less than a quarter, which means they're playing a very thin double.
Houston with over 81%. Over 80%, 281.
He's going to hit that. He's going to get a little bit of a roll, I think, or on the nose.
Certainly hasn't got any double. It's right there in the 12th foot, almost on the nose. The line second shot. So 4 rocks for Northern Ontario and 3 for Alberta.
Well, that is not a bad shot by Houston. And I'll tell you why. Hackner is now going to draw to the open side. He's going to ignore that front one. Paul Gowsell will utilize that yellow one sitting in the top of the 12 foot as a last resort to try and bury with his last rock around it.
Do you think that they should be ignoring that Yellowstone right now?
Well, the trouble with ignoring it, potentially Paul Gowsell could use that rock to his advantage. He could either tap it up or draw around it. I would think that he would draw around it.
All right, let's see what Rick Lange comes up with.
Rick Lange said to him, keep it close. Watch it closely. Now they're really working.
A little quieter than he was the last time.
Well, he's out in a little heavier ice. They're really going to have to work on it.
Got to beyond the rings. If Northern Ontario wants to retain their chance to get a pair. And is he there?
He's there, but he's not second shot.
Third shot, you're right. Just on the rings, the third shot. But now Gowsell, of course, can make a play on the number 1 shot rock over on the right side.
Well, now, this is a very critical shot for Neil Houston. He has to hit and stick with this one. If he can hit and stick with this one, he may just get out of this end.
Rick Lange not quite deep enough for that draw attempt to give Northern Ontario second shot.
Ooh, that is a pressure draw, and he just came up about a foot short.
Well, there's that yellow rock they ignored. It's come back to haunt them already, right
Yes.
now. Is it his second shot? Okay, here is the attempt by Houston. Northern Ontario shot rock. Playing it down with the outturn.
He wants to make sure he sticks with this one. He's well out there.
Should fall quite a bit.
Now it's starting to work a bit.
Going to be on the outside of it. There's the roll, and he is out of play. That is going to be a bad mistake. He is just off the ring. Stays in play, actually.
You'll see by that rock, that yellow rock belonging to Alberta, if he hits it on the nose, he could be in the ring. So that's a very important shot. I'm sure what Hackner would like Rick Lange to do is hit it a little bit on the right-hand side and roll just a fraction over to clear that 4-foot area. Of course, then again, if he sits right there, Gowsell may have a chance for a double. He certainly doesn't want to roll to the left-hand side. He wants to roll to the right-hand side.
Here is Rick Lange. His final rock of this 10th end. Score 5-4 for Alberta. Lange fairly quietly down that center area, waiting for that rock to react a little bit for him. It's on the outside, as you can see.
He's a long way over.
He wants to hang around with this. He's got it. But he's over right next to his own. It's definitely in double range, alongside of the other. That's a bad break for Northern Ontario and a plus for Alberta right now.
Let me tell you, Paul Gowsell is dodging some bullets this end. Because any one of 2 shots, they would have been in trouble. Now he could get out of the sand. The rocks are fairly close together.
Remember, Northern Ontario needs 2 for the win, and are playing for that right now. Gowsell doing his utmost to prevent them from the two. He is looking for an extra end to try to claim this victory.
If Paul Gowsell makes this double, there is a chance that a shooter would sit right there and allow the opportunity maybe for Alan Hackner to get in around it.
Well, I'll tell you what, either way, it's going to be a good finish. This is so close all the way between these two young skips. The 22-year-old Gowsell, there he is, the 25-year-old Hackner. Going for the double is Paul Gowsell. Looks sideways on his follow through. Let's see how the line is. He moves it, but that rock is going to hang around. It looks.
Oh, it just hung on.
It did hang around.
Oh, look at that.
Gowsell is chewing out his front end players for their sweeping judgment on that. He is hot, I'll tell you.
Oh, that was ever so close, and he just thrown his brush down in disgust. And you know, that rock must have fallen back just a fraction at the end because it looked coming over the hog line that he had it perfect.
Here is the chance now for Hackner to trade shots for the win. With two rocks for Hackner remaining, just one for Paul Gowsell. And Gowsell is still steaming about it. He knows that was a bad mistake.
Of course, Hackner has to get this one in here. Ooh, he looks a little bit strong. Oh, they haven't laid up brush to it, Donnie, and he's down the center where it's very keen. It's got to get off that keen ice if he's going to stop. He doesn't want to be behind that tee line either. He wants to stop in front of the tee line. Is it going to go through? They go right through. He is. Look at him work on it.
Now it's going to dig in, Don. It's there. Just there. But I'm sure that Alan Hackner was a very nervous man watching the 25 seconds it took for that rock to travel down the ice where it stopped at the back of the 12-foot. Let's look at that last rock of Paul Gowsell's a moment ago, the one he got so angry about when he left the Northern Ontario stone there. Now, he obviously was angry with his sweepers.
Well, they didn't lay much brush to it, Don, but look at it. Look, coming over the hog line, it looked like he had a good piece of it, and then just at the end there, it seemed to back up.
Yeah, I don't really, see where he could blame them. It appeared to be right in the middle of those two stones, and as you say, it backed up and didn't quite get this one. It just left it.
Of course, you're helpless because you can't sweep the rock, because it's in front of the tee line.
Not that one.
But let me tell you, would Alan Hackner love to have that drawback, because where he stopped in the back of the 12-foot allows Gowsell the opportunity to freeze to it. And if he freezes to it, it's going to be very difficult for Hackner to get it by. So
not taking much ice. Here it comes. Gowsell's last rock. Hackner still has one to go.
Of course, Paul Gowsell's got to be right in front of it, right on the face of it. He's got lots. Looks like he's got lots of weight. It's just a matter of line now. Jackson and Stern sweeping it. Houston watching the line. They've got to get it down close.
It's going to be close indeed. He's going to just set it back and put there, but there's a little bit of room left. He didn't quite get it up as tight as he might have, but a good shot by Paul Gowsell.
Well, of course, now it's all up to Alan Hackner. Do you try to pick it out of there, or do you try to, if you hit the Gowsell rock right on the nose, it goes onto your own, your shooter stays, and you score 2 points, or do you try to pick it out of there clean? Look at the room he's got. He's got about 12 inches in between the two rocks. The big thing is he has to decide, is he going to play if the nose hit, or is he going to try to corner it out of there? And let me tell you, you cannot think about two shots when you're throwing this last rock. You have to think of one only.
Well, if he cleans the ball out, he's got that little bonus or the one over on the right that could give him the tie or the win, depending on how it turns out. There's the last rock he's coming to now. The 10th end of the semifinal in the 1980 Labatt Brier, the first year of this playoff format, and it's been an exciting semifinal, certainly the last couple of ends, as Hackner now is getting set to go for the rock at the back of the house. They say with the angle and the space between them, there is room to get the yellow out of there. It's tricky, and here it is. Let's see how he does with it.
They jumped on it right away. Now they call him off it.
Call him off at the hog line.
He's either going to decide to hit it thin or hit it thick. He's got it. He's picked it right out of there.
It's out clean. He wins it. He gets two. He beats
a great shot, Donnie.
Goes to the Brier final. A super shot to win it for Alan Hackner, who takes it 6-5.
Oh, let me tell you, that was a thriller. I'm sure that 70% of the people in here would thought Paul Gowsell would have beat this young fella, but let me tell you, he proved it the second time. And that's very difficult.
He has beaten him twice this week here in dramatic fashion. Here it is, the shot.
Good rock by Hackner. Look at Lange. He's right down. He's saying, come on, you guys, let's corner it. He's got a perfect shot. And he makes just a great call on the sweeping. You'll see he picks it out of there clean. He's got lots of room between his own and the one Gowsell. Just a great shot.
And that little biter that caused so much anger on Gowsell's part over on the right was the second shot that provided the margin of victory for Northern Ontario at 6-5. So quite a finish. We'll be back with more here from the 80 Brier. Don't go away. Back with you from Calgary right after this brief pause.
What is the best-selling small car in Canada? Chevy Chevette. It has these advantages over its closest competitor, the gasoline-powered VW Rabbit. Chevette is built in North America for North Americans, supported by the largest dealer network in Canada, and parts are readily available. Chevette gets 2.6 miles more per gallon than Rabbit and has an 81 miles greater cruising range. And finally, Chevette sells for $1,500 less than Rabbit. Chevy Chevette, best-selling small car in Canada, bar none.